I think so.
Roll tape.
Yeah. I think this fits him better than anything.
Good.
Boy, Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
Begin with the fact that this is all a dream. Would you say that? Describe it for me. Give me a brief synopsis of the movie.
Well, I've got to be careful because obviously I don't want to give away the ending. But I think this is I've got to beat around the bush a little bit. It's a movie that you think you're seeing a psychological thriller, a kind of a conventional thriller, and I think a scary one.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to the end of the movie, you have to reassess everything that you've seen, because you weren't seeing what you thought you were seeing. So it's kind of like two movies in one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie that you have to work at. It's not just something that will kind of wash over you and you'll forget immediately. I think it's kind of different.
Yes, the audience has to work at it. We'll talk about that in a moment. But as a director, you had to work at this too, didn't you? I would imagine it would be very difficult not to make disturbing, nightmarish images look hokey. You wanted to make them look
No, it's very
scary.
tough, yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, the movie deals with the demonic. It deals with demons and devils and angels and stuff like that. And the writer, the way he wrote it, was very much in biblical terms. So devils had kind of bat wings and cloven hooves and funny horns and stuff like that. And which, as you say, is kind of funny and certainly not scary.
Well, it could be funny. I mean, and the last thing you'd want in a movie like this was for someone to laugh.
No, I mean, for example, we had a nurse that had horns in the movie, and we experimented for months trying to get these horns right, and were they going to look like heifers' horns or like little deer's horns or whatever, and everything we thought of was ridiculous, So in the end, what I did with all of these special effects, these demonic things, was to make them kind of flesh-based, so that they were almost thalidomide. You know what I'm saying? So those kind of bony things that we eventually did for the horns for the nurse were kind of like something that had grown out of her skull. It felt part of her. In that kind of scaly.
That's even scarier than something which is completely unnatural. Something that maybe that we see in cartoons, or that you would imagine it might be. Something that is human based and looks like an abnormal bit of something growing out of a human creature.
The man who did the special effects, a guy called Gordon Smith from Canada, who I thought was wonderful actually. Had done movies like Platoon and Born on the 4th of July. He'd done that sort of movie rather than kind of flights of fantasy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that everything we had was very real, I think, and kind of really that much more scary as a result of it, I think.
I'm doing this right now, just thinking about the movie. But it is. You asked me when I came in, did you like it?
Yeah.
And I will say it is. I'm going to go see it again. It was very disturbing. But certainly thought-provoking. What does this say about hell or heaven?
Well, I guess it says it's not too nice. God, again, it's kind of tough to talk about it too much because of giving away the ending. But this is really a descent into hell by this man, Jacob Singer, that Tim Robbins plays, who I, by the way, I think is wonderful.
Yes, let's talk about Tim.
He's really one of the finest actors that I've worked with. I wanted somebody who was very sympathetic, very vulnerable, and also somebody who had a sense of humor, which I think he showed in Bull Durham.
And most of us remember him from that. We think, oh, he's a comedy, comedic. And certainly in this one, he...
And this is kind of a dark movie, so I wanted somebody who had a kind of a lightness of touch, and somebody who would find humor where perhaps it wasn't in the scene, and I think he did.
Your shots as a director, we know you from 9.5 Weeks, of course, and Fatal Attraction. In this one, you used a great many shots that you'd only see for a second. It must have, just a flash.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you're seeing this... with the demonic stuff, with the demons, if you like, I used as a basis an artist called Francis Bacon, an English artist who did kind of blurry, smeared, kind of tortured imagery, and so a lot of the demonic stuff in the movie is moving, it's kind of shaking like that, and which gave this kind of tortured sort of feeling, and I think it worked well because the audience can't see it clearly, and when they can see something clearly, then it's less scary. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And these images, like the one in the mirror, for example, which I think is particularly frightening, you know, when he pushes the mirror to look more closely at the, remember?
Yeah.
It was something that worked at 8 frames, you know, literally 8 frames long, tiny, you know, a tiny piece of film. But when it was at 12 frames, you saw too much, and it was ridiculous.
So you see, the less you see sometimes, the scarier it is.
But at 8 frames, it's terrifying.
Isn't that interesting? Now this is kind of, and I don't mean this to be funny, but chiropractors come out as maybe a godlike figure in this movie, and that doesn't seem funny until you see the movie and you understand it. What does it say about chiropractors?
Well, the character, the chiropractor, was played by Danny Aiello, as you know.
Yeah.
And I think he has a kind of angelic quality, as you say. I mean, kind of, if you like, he plays an angel in this. Yeah, I've never been to a chiropractor, but I kind of want to now after having made the film.
Well, I have, and
yeah.
mine is quite an angel. Yes, he is, so it's terrific. But I think chiropractors are going to enjoy this movie a great deal. If there were anything about it, do you ever look back at movies and say, I'd like to change something? Is there anything you would change?
Yeah, practically the whole time, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, really? Because I wouldn't say there'd be anything in this that you should touch.
Well, good, thank you. I mean, no, I'm always a bit self-critical about my stuff. I find it very difficult looking at my own stuff, really. I did on Fatal Attraction quite a lot because I enjoyed listening to the audience reaction. I went in, I used to tape record the reaction of the crowd, you know, in the last 10 minutes of the movie when they're hooting and hollering and yelling and stuff, and that's fun, you know. And I think you learn a lot by listening to audience reaction, like when the movie's kind of boring and when it's, you know what I'm saying, when it's working.
Well, this one you tape record, just be prepared. There's going to be a lot of stunned people sitting there like this. Good. It's pretty scary and pretty wonderful, too.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was a nice one.
Oh, I love